Welcome to First and 15, fifth quarter. Guys, we're going to go over a main event.
There you go.
We're going to go over a main event board. A lot of the times, a lot of other people talk about the drafts as they happen. We want to do a post-mortem on the draft to talk about what the guys are thinking about after the draft is over, right? Like a post-mortem, right?
Ain't nobody dying. My team is alive.
Some of these teams are dead already.
I'm already doing CPR. Come on now.
Hey, B, like you're team M9, team 10.
Yep.
Let's talk about that for a second. And Dave, your team is 7.
Yes. Yep.
So obviously, once we post this board, I'll cross the names out because we want to keep this, like anonymous for the other teams. But Dave, your team 7. Abby, your team 9. Yep. Let's talk about the thought process.
Team 10, but yeah.
Team 10.
Yeah.
So you started off with Amon Ra, and then you went Devontae Adams.
Well, let's start with Dave first because he was the first. He had the first.
Okay,
pick.
all right.
So the board was coming up. 7 pick. You decided to go C-Mac. So
I do a lot of drafts, and I've never seen Christian McCaffrey there in all the drafts I've done.
Yeah,
and I like the player historically, and I still like Christian McCaffrey. I'm just a little concerned about Shanahan using other running backs in the regular season and limiting McCaffrey so he doesn't reach his ceiling in the regular season because what their ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl, right? He set the team up.
They're going for the
now
long
they have
stretch.
Elijah Mitchell, they have Jordan Mason, they have kids, a lot of kids on that roster that he's going to give touches to.
Yeah.
So I worry about week to week. Can CMC hit the ceiling that some of these wide receivers or other players might hit?
Yeah.
But at 7 in a main event draft, since I'm doing however many I'm doing, I felt that was an appropriate value to take Christian McCaffrey. And I'm not a value-based drafter by nature, but at that position, I felt that was the right pick in this particular draft.
So you like C-Mac over Bijan this year? You're not with the Bijan?
Actually, I've taken Bijan over C-Mac in drafts.
Okay.
So I can't say that I like. I own way more Bijan than I own C-Mac. So
Got you.
I like Bijan. But in this particular draft, I decided I have some main events that I think are really special with Bijan on them. So from just a portfolio standpoint and the percentages I own Bijan versus C-Mac, why not give C-Mac a chance to be good in this particular draft? Even though I think there are some question marks that people aren't asking about C-Mac and his ceiling.
And then, so 3 picks later, knowing Abby, I know he wanted Diggs. He's probably sitting there in 10 like,
I was pissed.
Man, if Diggs. Just one more slide for Diggs. So what was your thoughts?
Yeah, no, actually, I mean, I wouldn't upset because I had contingency plans. Like, usually, like, the first round, if I got the 10th pick, I'll put 10 players. That way I just kind of know, and I'm not sitting there trying to guess. I'm actually pretty high on Devontae Adams. I think early, right after the season when I was writing my notes, I just had this idea that, like, people were going to really be down on, like, aging players. And some of them were going to, like, definitely age out, but, like, I didn't want to completely take them off my board. And Garoppolo versus Carr, at least to me personally, was not a major change. And there wasn't a major delta there to move the needle one way or the other. He finished the season elite by all accounts throughout the offseason, which has really kind of solidified my thought process with Devontae Adams is that Garoppolo's been healthy, and he's been looking pretty decent in camp, and that Devontae Adams has still been a beast. So I know Devontae Adams goes late, so even though I have him ranked high, I don't have to take him in the first. I love Amon Ra, like you. I want to get him on as many teams as possible. He's someone that I've just been excited to draft. Hopefully he can live up to the potential, but his floor is so high that, like, he's not going to kill you at all. And that back round is like, just pick it, it doesn't really, honestly, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just like the idea that knowing, like, I could potentially get some, like, elite running backs or guys that have the potential anyway to be elite later on. Let me try to get these 2 wide receivers. So that's why I started off the draft that way. I almost went Garrett Wilson. That was a tough decision. If I would have known that Corey Davis had retired, I would have definitely I would have diversified and I would have gone Garrett Wilson. Yeah.
So you just gifted Dave.
That's all right. But what I will say, I wanted to mention something when these main event drafts. What I say about the masses is that they figured out this year the wide receivers that go on that turn. If you look at 90% of boards, or even 95% of boards, the wide receivers we're talking about, they're interchangeable, a lot of them. And if you're doing a large portfolio, you should interchange them. You shouldn't get stubborn, because I have in years past saying, I'm going to own Dez Bryant on 100 teams. I don't care what nobody thinks. I'll take him in the 4-0. But I kind of changed my process a little bit.
Who's your team?
Do what?
Are you a fan of a team?
I like the Texans.
Okay.
All right,
Because
good.
I'm here.
You're amongst friends.
do so much wrong that they piss me off. But I think they're trending in the right direction, and some of their young players I like.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
But the wide receivers in that they figured it out. I mean, those guys are in early drafts and 350s. You can look back, and like I was saying earlier, you could pair Jefferson with like Garrett Wilson. They hadn't figured that out, but now so many in the main events. Those receivers are pretty much locked in, so you don't see it. You don't see like A.J. Brown falling to the guy in the 4 ever, or anything like that in these main events.
Now let's look at this board for a second. What pick would you want to take back if you have to go back and think about it again? Which pick would you want to take back? It's like if I could go back and do it again, I would choose someone else who was still available. Like, where would you actually?
My mindset says I'm always right, so I gotta try to stay with that mindset. If I start second guessing myself too much, I find out that I changed the way things I'm doing, where I might have been right all along. So I mean, you could argue maybe on my team. I'm speaking for the B team. My team, Jaylen Warren. That's a little early for him, but I don't have as much Jaylen Warren as I should in my portfolio, and so. Right after he said, "Oh, he looks like the best running back on their team," which he does. But the coach is going to play Najee, right?
Yeah.
So if I was just doing one draft, I would probably never take Jaylen Warren there. That'd be my thing.
I see Daniel Jones in the 11th. My man, MVP candidate.
And I have Waller on the team. So and if what I've learned in these drafts in best ball too, I did a little best ball this year where historically I didn't. If you have a quarterback, they'll leave you alone. But if you don't have a quarterback, they might take 3 or 4. Even if it doesn't make sense. I mean, what are they trying to do? Like Adele was saying, are you trying to win $5,000? Or are you playing for $1 million?
Yeah.
So you should never be taking 3 quarterbacks. But some of these guys, if they see you pushing quarterbacks, I'm not going to let that dude get a value of quarterback.
So Abby, who would you regret, or would you switch?
If you have to go back and change.
Honestly, in this draft, nobody.
It's a pretty decent team, though. It is.
Yeah,
I like this team.
I probably would have I need more Garrett Wilson, so I would say I would have taken Garrett Wilson over Devontae Adams just because I got so much Devontae. But I took a gamble going Lamar in the 3rd here, and in the main event, like you said, you want to diversify. I really want to get there with quarterbacks. If I could have a little bit more Burrow than most, just given where he was going, I'd like that. But I want to make sure I have a Lamar. I want to make sure I have a Pat Mahomes. I want to make sure I have a Hurst. I even want to make sure I have a Jalen Allen, Justin Herbert, and it probably stops there. The other guys you can kind of mix and match, but I want to make sure I have those guys.
So just to solidify what you're saying, this year you want a high-end quarterback. Like you're not playing around with late value or anything like that, right?
I'm gonna do enough mains where it doesn't necessarily have to be a high end. So I'm still gonna take a lot of guys. Like I think I shouldn't say this out loud, but.
No, we got to give the people what they want. The
probably
people
the
want
next
that.
few drafts, I am going to be probably focusing on mid-tier or lower-end type quarterbacks.
Okay.
So I can try to build a monster roster at the RB, wide receiver, maybe even tight end position, and then try and hit on one of these late run quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
You know what I found is if you get too rigid in I'm an early quarterback guy, I'm a late quarterback guy, you miss players that you don't draft because you don't think they fit the team, right?
Yep.
So if you change your draft style a little bit, if you're doing, say you're doing 10 to 15 main events or whatever, if you change your drafting style a little bit, that might give you exposure to a player you were kind of high on, but you never feel like you can take him because of the structure of the team, right?
Yep. No, absolutely right.
So I'm sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead.
And if you want me to shut up, just say Dave.
No.
But go back up, please, if you don't mind. So Dave, when you were in that 3rd round and you're sitting at 307, did you take Waller because you thought Abby was going to take him?
I did not.
Okay,
Waller's a guy I want to own, and he's moved up in drafts.
Yes, he has.
And I'm probably not doing another CMC team. Okay. And I think Waller's a potential difference maker in the 3rd round, right?
Okay.
So I took him a little earlier than where he goes. Say now in the main event, back in the football guys that I look at, I got Waller in 6th round.
That's the point I was going to make.
Yeah.
Waller was being taken in the 5th and 6th round before.
You know what's got me in trouble before? When I switched what I call switching drafting seasons, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing 350s. I think I got exposure to this guy. But then when I start main events, I'm keeping that same focus, and I hadn't switched gears to I need exposure in this tournament now. That tournament don't matter no more. That tournament's over with. I'm done drafting there. So I got to adapt to whatever the environment is in this tournament.
And those are guys that you're high on too. I ran into this issue last year in the main. It's just I was like, oh man, I was getting this guy 6th, 7th round, and I'm getting in the 5th round, and so then I wasn't getting any of my guys.
You changed drafting seasons.
I wasn't getting any of my guys, and it really hurt me. It really hurt me.
100%.
Switching things up.
It's hurt me. I've learned by that process. I look back and say, damn, I thought I had 30% of this dude. I ain't got but 2% of them in the main event.
Yeah.
So you got to switch drafting seasons. That's why I kind of quit the 350s when I moved to the mains.
Yeah.
And I'm focused just on winning this $1 million in the main event.
Let's talk about round 10 or later. Who do you guys think is going to be the biggest difference maker on your team? Round 10.
Oh, you got
or
Jeff
later?
Wilson. Nice.
I don't tell you that. I take Jeff Wilson when he falls to a right price because I think that coach likes the kid.
Yeah.
And as long as if the trade goes there, well, I lost a 13th round pick. I go to the waiver wire and find
That's
the next
nothing.
guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How much draft capital is a 13th round pick, really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
I think I know who your shit will be.
So to go
but
back and
tell me-
answer your last question. If I had to do over a pick, I would have done over the Zeke Elliott. I think,
You don't like the Zeke pick? I thought that was
I
kind of.
I don't mind it there. Actually, the Zeke and the Philly pick kind of because I really did want to get Jonathan Mingo. I thought I was going to be able to get him in the 14th, and then he just he went. So I probably could have waited there.
peeled him off right after.
Yeah. He took him right early. But to get to your next question, as far as like who I think will be difference makers, I'm big on Juwan Johnson. I think it's a situation where everybody
That's what I
thinks
thought you were
it's
gonna
like everybody thinks it's kind of like crowded, and it is. But in those crowded situations, people always emerge, and we don't know what Michael Thomas is. We really don't. And every time I read something about Michael Thomas, it's like Michael Thomas looks a lot better, but he's got to knock off some dust. Or Michael Thomas is getting there, but he's got a little. I don't want to hear that stuff. We're 2 weeks away from the season. I don't want to hear that.
No.
Yeah.
And then you got Chris Olave, so I'm fine with them having a legit one. But then who's the other guy? And then I hear Carr talking to his brother, and his brother's asking him who do you want to have?
Yeah.
I put stock into that. He said
Yeah.
Juwan Johnson.
Yeah.
And then Carr historically throws to the tight ends. And just watching that preseason, again, it's just preseason, but I don't know. I like it. I like the idea of him a safety valve. And then he looked so dominant in the red zone last year. To me, that was the biggest thing.
Abby, can I call you out? Real quick?
Yeah.
Call him out. Call him out.
All right.
Take
When
that.
I put in my dynasty ranks, my dynasty
Rico?
Yeah.
my dynasty, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Whatever,
The
right?
ticker. The ticker.
Ticker, yeah.
It's at the bottom right now.
I put Jonathan Mingo before Marvin Mims. Mm-hmm. And Abby got on the text message like, you're way too high on Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
Marvin Mims is better than him.
Yes.
But you just said you would have took Mingo
Yes.
instead of Mims. And Mims was right there for you in the 14th round.
If you're listening and you can't see, I'm giving Dale his flowers. He was correct. And the crazy thing is, early before the draft process, I was like, "Oh man, y'all got to see this guy, Jonathan Mingo. He's amazing." And then I was like, "Man, Jonathan Mingo, he ain't it. And then he went to the Panthers, and I was like, "Okay, now he's done."
okay.
He got another boost today. DJ Chark.
Exactly. I saw that. Yeah.
It just stuck out to me. I didn't realize it until you just mentioned it now. So I was
And
like,
that goes to the idea, I'm still working on this. I will lock in, I will take lock and just really lock in on okay, I think this is going to happen, and not really fully appreciate what a player can offer. And that's why I love being able to kind of go back and forth with Deo, because he will expand my mind with that. And it may take me a little bit longer, but eventually I get there, and ideally it's not too late. So I definitely would have done that over.
Rico Dowdle. Now this is the second or third draft you've taken a Rico?
I got plenty of Rico.
Man, so let's talk about Rico for a second. What do you see in Rico Dowdle that I don't see? I have
actually like
zero
him.
shares.
No, I like him. To me, he fits the profile of the Tony Pollard compliment. I don't know. I've just been watching the preseason and have not really been impressed with Malik Davis.
Really?
And then the second game, Rico got to start. You can kind of make it that
Rico
what you
got
want.
to start last
Yeah.
year.
And to me, Deuce is just too small.
He's just
I
too
think
small.
when you get into actual football games, competitive games against other people's ones, and you get into game situations. To me, Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle together makes sense. Tony Pollard and Deuce Vaughn don't make a lot of sense.
So you don't believe in the Deuce hype at all? You think it's just
I mean, I guess if I'm going by ownership percentage, no. I wouldn't bet the farm that it's Rico Dowdle. But in situations like this where I'm okay, let me see if I can just really get overweight on the field on somebody. This is a situation where I'm okay, there's going to be an RB2 there that's going to get some work. We'll see what that means. But
Under
let me try to get overweight. Yeah.
That's under the assumption
That they don't bring
that
anybody
that they don't bring anybody else in.
Yeah. That's why these guys are going in the 18th round.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Dave.
Rico Dowdle passes my eye test.
Yeah.
I own shares of Rico Dowdle.
He does. So now Dave, I see you took Chris Evans in the 18th round.
Yes, sir.
There you
Do
go.
you believe he's the number 2 over Travion Williams?
I think he's the passing down back there.
So
I
you think he'll
they
take the
trust
Samaje
him.
role?
I think he needed a couple of years because I like that kid when he came out of college at Michigan. But I think this year he's going to have a role in that offense.
But do you think he has a more valuable role than Travion?
I definitely do.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Travion's been hurt, and I just don't think they're ever going to.
Do you believe in the rookie?
I like the rookie, but
Like-
but obviously he must have issues with pass. A lot of these rookies,
Yeah.
they're great, but they play at Illinois, and they're not used to pass protection, right?
Right.
So the coach can't
We talk
ever-
about pass
and you
protection
can't
all the
put him
time.
on the field with Burrow because Burrow's your franchise player,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So Evans has been there. It might have took Evans 2 or 3 years for a light bulb to click. He has the talent.
Yeah.
And it looks like they trust him, so I think he's going to be the passing down. But saying all that, if Rico Dowdle would have made it to me, I'd have took Rico Dowdle instead of Chris Evans.
Okay. Well, FYI for the listeners out there, if you're in these FFPC leagues, go check the waiver wire because I looked today and Rico Dowdle's available in like all of them.
Oh yeah,
except for like
he's
two.
sure.
He's
Sure,
out.
you can definitely.
All of them.
Yeah.
You know, so you can definitely kind of pick him up. My next question for both of you is, what are your thoughts on Kyron Williams? Do y'all believe he's the number 2 that's going to get work?
I took him here. The board's kind of tightening up. I don't know. I'm going with the narrative that like they love something they saw. I don't think Schefter would have been as aggressive in terms of like recommending him or speaking so highly of him last year if he didn't have some type of inside info.
I forgot about that Schefter too.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot of stuff in the offseason about him like really kind of being the passing downs guy, and that's what's taking me off of Akers. I don't want a guy who's not going to get third down working a bad
2 down
offensive
back
line.
in the 5th round, 6th round don't sound good to you?
No. With a bad offensive line, no thank you. So whether or not, the question that I have, and I'm going to take shots, but I'm not going to be like, crazy aggressive with it. The question that I have is if Akers goes down, gets traded, something happens, falls out of favor, whatever, can Kyron Williams be the guy? Can he get like 60%? That I don't know. I can't answer that question. He did it at Notre Dame, He's never gonna, and that's the thing. Like when he came back from his injury, like I think he had like one of the worst athletic profiles.
Yeah.
Like Spark, so him coming back from an injury, like he would, like I can see why he looked the way he did. But he's healthy now, like so he probably needs to be close to 100% or like near his physical peak to really make an impact. But that may look really good in that offense.
If Akers go down, I'm pretty sure they'll bring in somebody because they've done that so many times.
Going back to week 1 of last year, though, look at what happened. Kyron Williams was playing, Cam Akers wasn't. There's something to that. Go back and watch week 1 of last year.
Last year?
Before Cam Akers got...
I thought Kyron got hurt.
He did get hurt, but
He
he
got
was
hurt in that
playing
game.
in that game ahead of Cam Akers. Cam Akers didn't get the ball. He didn't get a touch.
Yep.
So I think Kyron's a real good speculative play late in drafts because obviously McVay likes him.
Hey, if that's the case, then once again, go check those waiver wires because he's available.
He's out there.
everywhere.
You go back and watch week 1 of the NFL last year and the first game, and Kyron Williams was the guy out there.
Oh, man.
That's like my only advantage. Like that's my only advantage is watching the games and like paying attention to stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't get there anywhere else. If I don't watch the games, I'm like useless.
Yo,
Don't ask
I
me
gotta watch
anything,
the
like
games. I watch every game.
yeah.
All right,
rewatch
guys.
them.
All right, guys. That's our 5th quarter. I think we kind of ran over this week.
Like, subscribe,
rate.
Subscribe to these guys. Best podcasts out there. If you get a chance to sit on the couch, come sit on the couch.
Thanks, guys.
yes.
We're out.